Okay, so today we're going to continue our journey through the exploring what's wrong with our tree series. Up until now, we've really talked about recognizing problems in our trees and looking at what types of information we might need to gather in order to help us figure out what is wrong and come up with solutions for dealing with them. But today we're going to look more proactively, and we're going to talk about some of the things that we can do at different times of the year. And well, why don't we jump into spring? What about what are some of the things you might do? Okay, so we made it through the winter intact, probably. Things are starting to warm up. What are some of the things that people can and maybe should do to help now at this point now to help their plants get going and be healthy?
In the springtime is definitely the time when you, again, if you do any pruning, you can do the pruning. And to improve the structure of the trees, if you have a mature trees, the trees are healthier, you can always remove the dead and disease and damaged branches anytime, pretty much. If you have water sprouts, that's the time you might be able to remove them. Only root sucking, again, it's reducing and removing in the winter time, in the springtime. And then when season start growing, you look if it's, what you can do on the soil, if you don't need anything on the soil, amendments or doing on the soil if it's needed, and then come to the watering if it's dry. Usually we have in Alberta very dry spring, and that's it takes a huge amount of moisture out of air when it's wind very strong and dry. So watering is definitely one of the way. And then if you start probably April, May, all the way till June, and is the fertilizing. You would be able to, if you know that you have a deficiency in the soil, you might be able to fertilize the trees. Lots of people like to fertilize the trees because of the growth or the orchards for the production. I generally speaking said to people, don't fertilize the tree unless you really have to, and unless your tree is struggling, unless you know that you do have a deficiency in the soil or the certain elements that you do the fertilizer. Because once you start fertilizing, fertilizer became like a drug to the tree, and the moment you stop fertilizing, the trees suddenly start suffering in many ways. So as I said, fertilizing is really if you have to, but you really have to know what you're doing.
So not necessarily, like, I mean, a lot of people would like to use spikes or whatever, and don't make a habit of that necessarily.
No.
More water than anything, really.
Yeah, watering is probably if it's dry, in that sense, and really depending on the size of the tree. If you have a young or older tree, again, you pruning, watering, put the mulch if you didn't put the mulch during the winter time. And make sure that there is, if you have an area that's low spot, do the drainage to take the water away. And water pools around the root system is definitely killer for many species.
Take the excess water away. I mean,
excess water. That's correct.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Good. What about, so we've sort of spring and summer are quite similar, really. Like, it's a lot about maintenance and monitoring and making sure that the tree has everything it can as it's actively growing. Anything specific in summer that you might suggest?
Monitoring. That's one of the times that is probably the best thing you can do is monitor. Monitor again from, as I said, from April all the way till November, once a week. It's the monitoring is really going to save you for all of the troubles. Save you with the problem with the insects and disease, save you with the problem with any environmental issue that you will be able to deal with in many ways. If you know that you have some insect, then you have a time. Early detection is going to save you with the problem down the road. And again, if you see that you have a standing water, that doesn't drain, you might be able to do something about it. If you have a drought, you might be able to do something about it and do the proper watering. If you have a certain disease or insect and you might be able to do some pruning and removing them. All of the things is the biggest thing is the monitoring. That will save lots of headache.
And I mean, and if you're monitoring regularly, you're going to catch stuff rather than, as you say, sometimes people show up and say, well, my tree's dead. What do I do?
Oh,
Well, you cut it down now because it's
exactly.
dead, right? And now, so if you monitor, you might be able to catch something early enough to be able to prevent the loss of that tree or
Exactly.
planting.
It's a monitoring, I always said, and it's, you
Yeah.
know,
And I mean, and monitoring's a big fancy word, but really it's just taking a look and noticing it from one week to the next week. Did something change? Is it odd? Is something different that's out of key or normal? So
yeah. Well, monitor, what Robert, I always said, don't forget, we plant the trees because we like them. And we have a
look at them
reason
then.
for them.
Enjoy
And
them.
then enjoy them.
Yeah.
And for lots of people, what sometimes with many of the clients that I met thousands of clients, is I said to the people, trees are also good for your mental health. If trees has a various components that really help the people to relax and really reduce the stress. In Japan or Korea, people healthcare over there, people pay the people to go to the forest and trees to just relax and reduce the stress. And any of us, any times, if you go along the trees or do anything with the trees, it will definitely reduce the stress. So that monitoring actually shouldn't be as much monitoring, should be much
No,
more
it's not a
enjoyment
it's not
and
a
observation.
yeah, it's a good thing.
It's not a
It's a
chore.
no, it's a
It's a beauty of the having those trees, because
absolutely, yeah. It's just part of another level of enjoying them. Absolutely.
enjoyment, yeah, in
Yeah.
that sense. So it's an observation, and then you're going to see the lots of wildlife. You're going to see the birds. You're going to see the other wildlife that you can do that,
Yeah.
and you're going to start, or flowering, or the cherries or the fruits or everything is there. So when you go do the walking, driving, whatever you do, it's enjoy and observe,
Yeah.
and that monitoring
You'll be amazed what you
observation.
see. And I mean, even some of the problems will bring another level of interest and excitement to your life.
Oh,
Aren't trees are so wonderful in that way, and so
Oh,
what
it's
a what
amazing.
a
I have a lots of people that I pointing out certain things in the trees, and they said, "My God, Tosha, I've been living here for 60 years. I never noticed this." I said, "Well, it's some
Mhm.
of those are deformation the tree is created by the, by the bacteria, and you have a burrow. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, I never noticed this. Where did it come from, or
Yeah.
something like that."
Well, and I mean,
And
you start to learn the story of your trees, and it's
that's the biggest thing. I said trees are also indicator of us, what we are going through the stages of life. Usually lifespan of most of the trees is the lifespan of the human being in many ways. And you will be noticing that tree grows so fast. Oh my goodness, I planted that 5 years ago. It's now 20 feet tall. Oh my, that goes. So that's monitoring it's more than just observation. It's also enjoyment and pleasure, and also reminder about why did you plant those trees in the first place.
Yep. Oh, it's good. Well, thank you, Tozo, for that great conversation. So hopefully, I mean, water, watch, and enjoy. That's
Mm,
and let's get out there and do that. Thank you again, Tozo, for joining us, and hope you had a great day and enjoy it, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Robert. That was wonderful.
Awesome.